Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, अस्सलाम वालेकुम। प्यारे बच्चों, आज मैं आपसे ही पूछूंगा कि हम आज कौन सा टॉपिक पढ़ रहे हैं। वेरी गुड, मेटल्स एंड नॉन मेटल्स। अच्छा बच्चों, कल हमने कौन सा सब टॉपिक डिस्कस किया? मेटल्स। वेरी गुड, वेरी गुड। आज हम इसका ये दूसरा पार्ट थोड़ा डिस्कस करेंगे, इसकी डेफिनेशन लिखेंगे कि नॉन मेटल्स जो होते हैं, नॉन मेटल्स क्या होते हैं, किन को नॉन मेटल्स हम बोलते हैं, और इनके जो व्हाट इज देयर इंपॉर्टेंस इन आवर डेली लाइफ, इसके बारे में हम आज थोड़ा डिस्कस करेंगे। व्हाट इज द डेफिनेशन ऑफ मेटल्स एंड व्हाट इज देयर इंपॉर्टेंस इन आवर डेली लाइफ। डियर स्टूडेंट्स, यू नो दैट the metals which are known as have been divided into two groups, metals and non-metals. Metals we have already discussed in the yesterday's topic. Today we will discuss what are non-metals. Non-metals are the elements that do not conduct heat and electricity and are neither malleable nor ductile. They are brittle. They are brittle. Non-metals are not lustrous. Metals are lustrous. They are shiny, but non-metals are non-lustrous. They are not lustrous. They are not shiny. They have a dull appearance. They have a dull appearance. And metals जो होते हैं, they are sonorous. They produce sound when struck, but non-metals do not produce sound. That means they are non-sonorous. Examples of non-metals are carbon, sulfur, phosphorus, silicon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, chlorine, bromine, iodine, helium, neon, and argon. These are the examples of non-metals. The allotropic forms of carbon. You know that there are three allotropic forms of carbon nowadays. First, there were two. Now, their third form have been discovered, which is called the Buckminster fluorine. Both these forms of carbon, diamond, graphite, and other form of the carbon, which is called Buckminster fluorine, they are also non-metals. In fact, there are 22 non-metals or non-metallic elements. You know there are 118 elements. Out of those 118 elements, only 22 elements are non-metals. That means their number is very small. They are very small in number. Out of these 22 non-metals, out of these 22 non-metals, 10 non-metals are solids, 10 non-metals are solids, and one non-metal, bromine. Bromine is a liquid, whereas the other 11 non-metals are gases. That means these 22 non-metals, they have been divided in further three groups. That means solids, liquids, and gases. But out of these 22 non-metals, 10 non-metals are solids. Only one non-metal, which is bromine. It is yes, only one non-metal, bromine, which is in the liquid, which exists in the liquid form, whereas the remaining 11 non-metals are gases. Thus, all the non-metals are solids or gases except bromine, which is a liquid non-metal at room temperature. Now, during chemical reactions, non-metals form negative ions by gaining electrons. Dear students, I have told you yesterday that during chemical bonding, ionic bonding, there takes place either the elements either lose electrons or gain electrons, and they form ions. They form two types of ions. When they gain electrons, they form negatively charged ions, and when the atoms of elements they lose electrons, they lose they lose electrons, they form positively charged ions when they lose. So non-metals, when during these chemical reactions, when they react with the other elements, they form negatively charged ions by gaining electrons. Based on this observation, we can write another definition of these metals. One definition is that non-metals do not conduct heat and electricity and are neither malleable nor ductile, but they are brittle. But on the basis of the chemical reaction, on the basis of the formation of ions, we can write another in the definition of non-metals in another way. That is, non-metals are the elements which form negative ions by gaining electrons or accepting electrons. For example, oxygen is a non-metal which forms negatively charged oxide ions, O2 ions, by gaining electrons. That means when oxygen reacts with other elements, other metals, or other metals, they gain it gains two electrons and form negatively charged ions. It accepts ions by gaining electrons. In fact, non-metals are known as electronegative elements because they can form negative ions by gaining electrons. But there is an exception. All the non-metals, they form negatively charged ions by gaining electrons. But there is an exception. Hydrogen is a non-metal, but it does not gain electrons, but it loses its electron and form positively charged ions. Hydrogen ions as positive ions. It is exception in the non-metals. It should be remembered. Though non-metals are small in number, अब हम इसकी थोड़ा इम्पोर्टेंस पढ़ेंगे, इम्पोर्टेंस की तरफ जाएंगे. What is the importance of non-metals in our daily life? Though non-metals are small in number as compared to metals, but they play a very important role in our daily life. In fact, life would not be possible on earth without the presence of non-metals. अगर ये non-metals इस कायनात में मौजूद न होते तो इनके बगैर जिंदगी नामुमकिन है, जिंदगी मुमकिन नहीं है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इसके लिए हम एक एग्जाम्पल ले लेंगे. चलो हम कार्बन की एग्जाम्पल ले लेंगे. कार्बन इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट नॉन मेटल बिकॉज ऑन द लाइफ ऑन दिस अर्थ इज बेस्ड on carbon compounds. Carbon is very important, most important non-metal because the life on this earth is possible, is based on the carbon compounds like proteins, fats, carbohydrates, vitamins, enzymes, etc. are the essential for the growth and development of life. You know that these components, these constituents, which exist in the food, proteins, fats, carbohydrates, vitamins, and enzymes, they are very essential for the growth and development of all the organisms. So these all constituents, proteins, fats, they contain carbon, yeah, they are made up of carbon. So carbon is very important for the life of all organisms. इसके बाद हम दूसरी मिसाल भी ले लेंगे. Let us take another example, that of oxygen. Oxygen is equally important for the existence of life. You know, because the presence of oxygen gas in the air is essential for breathing to maintain life. Yeah, we cannot live without the existence of oxygen. You know that without the presence of oxygen, which we inhale during respiration, life is impossible. So it is very important. This oxygen also helps us in the combustion of fuels, which provide energy for various purposes. Without this oxygen, combustion is also impossible. यानी ऑक्सीजन के बगैर जो है कोई चीज जल नहीं सकती है. यानी जब ये फ्यूल्स जब इनके जलने से हम एनर्जी हासिल करते हैं जो हम मुख्तलिफ मकासद के लिए इस्तेमाल करते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल खाना पकाने के लिए, पानी को गर्म करने के लिए वगैरह वगैरह. इसके बाद हम एक और मिसाल ले लेंगे नाइट्रोजन की. नाइट्रोजन जो है, नाइट्रोजन इज एन इनर्ट गैस. इट इज एन इनर्ट गैस whose presence in air reduces the rate of combustion. यानी ये नाइट्रोजन जो है इससे कंबस्शन की रफ्तार जो है वो घट जाती है and makes it safe. Another example is sulfur. Sulfur is present in many substances found in plants and animals. For example, sulfur is present in air, hair, onion, garlic, wool, etc. In these substances, this sulfur is present. Non-metals are required to make vegetable ghee, fertilizers, acids, explosives, and fungicides. Now, the most important non-metal in the Earth's crust is oxygen. ये आपको याद रखना चाहिए. सबसे ज्यादा मिकदार में जो non-metal इस जमीन की सतह पर पाया जाता है वो है ऑक्सीजन. It constitutes 50% of the Earth's crust. And the second non-metal in abundance on the surface of the Earth is silicon. And it constitutes 26% of the Earth's crust. Major non-metals in the Earth's crust in the decreasing order of their abundance are. You know that most abundant is oxygen, इसके बाद silicon, और इसके बाद phosphorus, and after that is sulfur. These are the major non-metals which are present in abundance in the Earth's crust. And if we write them in the increasing order according to their abundance, then we can first write oxygen and then silicon, then phosphorus, and then sulfur. इसके बाद all the non-metals have similar properties. जो आपको याद रखना चाहिए, ये non-metals जो सब सारे के सारे हैं, इनकी जो properties है वो एक जैसी होती है. All the non-metals also have similar properties, but the properties of non-metals are opposite to the metals. आपको ये non-metals जो है इनकी प्रॉपर्टी जो है वो मेटल्स की प्रॉपर्टीज के बरअक्स है. यानी फॉर एग्जांपल मेटल्स आर हार्ड, नॉन मेटल्स आर सॉफ्ट. यानी ये इसके मुखालिफ है. इसी तरह मेटल्स आर सोनोरस, नॉन मेटल्स आर नॉन सोनोरस. ये भी हम कह सकते हैं. जो ये इनको ये फिजिकल इट कम्स इन द फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टीज ऑफ these are the physical properties of metals. But the properties of metals are opposite of the properties of the non-metals. इसके बाद हम इनकी जो प्रॉपर्टीज हैं वो हम अलग से कल एक उनके लिए हम अलग क्लास ले लेंगे अगले दिन इंशाअल्लाह.